We'll call the meeting of the zoning board of appeals to order. First item on the agenda, all tenants. So recorded. We will go to Article 2, pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
On to Article 3, approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, carries. Article 4, approval of the minutes from the August 9th meeting.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Article 5 is where we acknowledge anyone in the audience that would like to speak on a non-agenda item. How about on Zoom? No one. All right, we'll bring it back. Article 6, let's jump into case number 22-3734.
Mr. Chairman, Brian, before I start, I just like to have a disclosure. I'm friends with Mike Kunis, the applicant. He's one of the hardest working, most honest guys I've ever met. I have no financial connection, no business connection. We played basketball together for probably 15 years. And I think this case is very well laid out. It's very objective and I can do it without any bias, but if there's any discomfort or if you would like me to recuse myself, I'd be happy to.
Any concerns on board?
No concerns.
I also need to disclose something that Kunis has repaired 2 of my cars.
He's repairing a couple of mine.
Everyone has.
I just want to be open about this.
All right,
I don't have a concern.
I see no concerns here, so we'll move forward. Thank you.
All right, yeah, thanks for disclosing that. So tonight, the applicant's requesting approval from the ZBA to allow for the construction of a fire lane within the required buffer yard area along the north property line at 5100 Patterson Avenue and 5085 Kendrick Court. The applicant has applied for a site plan review to combine the parcels and buildings at both of those addresses into one building on one parcel. As a result of connecting the buildings, a 20-foot wide fire lane is required to extend the length of the building. A 20-foot buffer yard is required between industrial zone properties, and with only about 35-foot setback between the existing buildings and the property line, there's not enough space for both the fire lane and the required buffer yard, which is why they're here tonight for the variance request. The site plan shows a buffer yard width anywhere from 10 feet on the west side of the addition to as narrow as 2 on the north side of the addition. I did speak to the fire inspector recently regarding the location of the fire lane, and he indicated there might be an opportunity to move the fire lane closer to the building, possibly right here, to provide so that there would at least be about a 10-foot buffer yard then along the majority of that fire lane, which would allow more room for landscape plantings. So the zoning ordinance allows the planning commission to approve modifications to the planting requirements within a buffer yard, but a modification to the width must be reviewed as a variance request. So tonight we're just looking at that buffer yard width, and then the planning commission will be able to review the number of plantings when it comes to site plan review to them to ensure that they meet the objectives of the zoning ordinance for that. I believe that when reviewing the variance request, it's important to note that the fire code requires the fire lane to remain clear at all times, and no obstructions such as cars or dumpsters are permitted. So this is not a space that the property owner can use for storage or parking, but it's simply a requirement of the fire code that they would need in order to move forward with that proposed addition to combine the buildings. And given the location of the existing building, there's no location where that fire lane could be placed that would not be at least partly within the buffer yard and requiring a variance. So at this time, I'd recommend approval of the variance request with 2 conditions that I would like to add after speaking again with the fire inspector. The first of which is that the applicant continues to work with staff and the fire department to determine if the fire lane can be moved closer to the building. And second, that the fire lane remains clear at all times with no obstructions permitted, such as parking or dumpsters.
I'm sorry, Brian, the first one was to work with staff to move the lane
Closer to work with staff and the fire department to determine if the fire lane can be moved closer to the building.
Okay,
Yep, kind of specifically in this
Yep.
area right here where there's
Yep.
about 10 feet between the fire lane and the building.
Okay, thanks, Brian.
All right, any questions of staff?
No.
All right. If the applicant would like to add anything to it. Name and address for the records.
You bet. Don DeGroot with Excel Engineering, 5252 Clyde Park, Grand Rapids. And Mike Kunis is here as well. And we'd be happy to answer any questions you have regarding the site plan or any operational things. Mike can fill you in. He, I think, did a great job of summarizing the history of Kunis Auto Body and what's got him where he is today, and the contracts that he has in front of him that he needs to commit to. And part of that requires additional staff and additional room. And so we're certainly willing to work with the fire marshal on relocating that drive easterly. Sometimes they get a little concerned about being too close to the building, but if they're comfortable with it, we're certainly able to shift that north-south portion east a little. But yeah, I think Brian's done a great job of summarizing what the proposal is, and I'll just leave it at that and be happy to answer any questions as they come up. Thank you.
Brian, is this public hearing?
It is, yep.
I move going to public hearing.
Support.
Motion and support to go into public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Open to public hearing. No one in the audience. Anyone online? No comments online.
Move to close public hearing.
Second. Motion and support to close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. We are back to the commission for discussion.
Well, I really appreciate that Mike Kunis, the applicant, gave us the history of Kunis Auto Body. They really need to connect their properties. They've got 4 adjacent properties. They've done everything to stay in Cascade for decades. And I've watched them grow over the years too, and since they moved out on Patterson. And so I really see that there are exceptional circumstances that they meet the findings of fact that were nicely laid out by Brian. You know, they need to connect these buildings if they want to stay in Cascade. And obviously they do. It took a lot of time to explain their situation. For these are adjacent properties, and the variance request, I think, is reasonable and justified, and they've agreed with both of staff's conditions as well. So I think this is the ideal situation.
Agreed.
We have a motion to approve with conditions.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and support. And just to recap, adding the 2 conditions that staff had recommended. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
On to Article 7, any other business?
I don't know if we'll have our October meeting unless we get something something submitted in the next day or two. Just real quick on November, that meeting had to be bumped back a week because of elections. So then it's the same time and place as DDA meeting. So I've been talking to Sandra about that, and just a quick kind of straw poll, but if we were to meet at 4:30 on the November 15, would any of you not be able to make that time, or would we be able to have a quorum still? If we meet at 4:30 on that Tuesday, the 15th?
I can make it.
I can make it.
Me too.
You said the 15th, right? Of
15th.
November.
Yep.
Yes.
Sounds like we do have at least three or
And-
four.
And I'm also available.
Okay.
I'll be here
Okay.
for the DDA meeting anyway. Be convenient.
That's right.
So it sounds like we can have a quorum at least. So I think we'll kind of have that as a tentative plan. Then we'll see if we have something out for the agenda or not for November.
Isn't that opening day of deer hunting season?
Sorry, I might not be
You know
around.
who'll
Only gun.
I know who else is subbing for.
I don't hunt anymore, so I'll be here.
All right. With that, I would entertain a motion.
To adjourn. So.
Oh, one more.
One more thing.
Whoops.
As the zoning board representative from the planning commission, there was a comment that came up last night about the storage units that are currently occupying several businesses, that they think they're rather unsightly, especially at the Walmart location. And some pretty negative comments came out of that in the process. I'm just relaying to you what I heard. I didn't argue with them, but I think as the representative from Planning Commission, I need to relay that to you. If we hear more applications for storage units like this being stored on site, I'm going to be kind of reluctant to.
And I think the biggest issue was that those are so prominently seen from 28th Street. So in the future, if we do get other ones, we might look at less less clear places where they might be towards the back of the lot or further from public streets.
The ones in Meyer didn't seem to be a problem.
Right, no,
It was
no one-
mostly the
It
Walmart
was,
ones.
it was really only the Walmart ones that were brought up, so that
Yeah.
are close to the street. So if we get any of those in the future, we'll take a closer look at where those are located and how obvious they are from the public street.
Anyway, I just want to relay that
concerned
into
about
the
the-
game
Color coordination or the location.
or the size of them.
All right. With that said, Article 8 would entertain a motion.
For adjourn? That's so me. Yep.
Support.
Motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Motion carries. We are adjourned.
10 minutes.
Is that a record?
No.
What's the